Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today I'm doing a checked out video. So if you haven't seen these on my channel before, occasionally I'll do a checked out video, and it's basically all the books that I have out at the moment from the library. I have been trying to slow down on my library rentals because I've got so many books on my shelves. It's a bit silly really, but I tend to pick up library books that are ones that I want to try, but I don't think they're necessarily going to be for me, but I've got the feeling that I want to try and I want to get out of my comfort zone. So rather than buying the book and then finding that I'm right and it isn't for me, I prefer to borrow it for free from the library, and then if I don't like it or I want to DNF it, there's no pressure. I haven't paid for it, I don't have to feel bad, and I can take it back. So let's get into the books that I've picked up recently. Now, I really love the idea of non-fiction. I really want to read more non-fiction, and occasionally I'll find that one non-fiction book that I start and I can't put down. But often with non-fiction, for some reason, I will read the first little bit and then I'll put it down thinking, oh, it's non-fiction, I can pick it up and put it down again. And then I just don't go back to it. And I think in some ways that's my problem with short story collections, is unless I sit down and read it as if it's a fictional story and I read it in one go as one book, you know, picking it up every day and reading it, I tend to sort of lose momentum with it and then don't pick it up again. But one of the books that's really piqued my interest in the non-fiction charts recently is The Emperor of All Maladies, a biography of cancer by Siddhartha Mukherjee. I've heard some really good things about this. I'm afraid we're going to get glare the whole time because all of our library books are covered in plastic. This is, as it says, a biography of cancer, but from what I've heard from people who have read this, it's a very readable read. It's written almost like fiction in a way, and it's a biography of cancer. It says in the back, a story of cancer is a human one, a tale of chance, discoveries, seized opportunities and human endurance. So this is going to be a tough read for me because cancer has touched my life, not personally in my body, but in a close family member's. But it's one that I really want to read, I want to understand more about, and I think it will be interesting. So I'm looking forward to trying this one out. Then I've picked up a couple of classics, ones that were sort of on my radar but not sure if they were going to be for me, so I wanted to pick them up from the library first. And the first one is Charlotte Bronte's Shirley, and also Charlotte Bronte's Villette. After reading Jane Eyre, I wanted to read some more Charlotte Bronte, so I've picked up these two to see what I think. I don't know anything about them. Shirley, it says, is a conflict of classes, sexes and generations, the story of struggling debt-ridden Robert Moore, whose decision to try and save his Yorkshire mill by sacking workers sparks a riot, so that sounds interesting. And then Villette is often acclaimed as her greatest and most mature work. It's her most autobiographical novel. Lucy Snow is alone without friends or family, and she sets sail from England to find work at a girls' boarding school in the town of Villette. And lots of different things happen there, so I think this is one that I will really enjoy, but we shall see. I've picked them both up and I'm hoping that I will like them both as much or nearly as much as Jane Eyre. Next is a book that I've had on my radar for ages and I keep meaning to pick up, and that's Ruth Ozeki's My Year of Meats. I've hauled this twice I think now from the library, and I just not got round to reading it, and I absolutely adored Ruth Ozeki's A Tale for the Time Being. I read that a few years ago and I really want to get to more of her books, so I really need to pick this one up. This one is the story of two women, one all-American cooking show, and it's about love, friendship, culture and food. So it's got all the boxes for me. There's love, friendship, there's food, it's based on a cookery show, and it's Ruth Ozeki, so really this should be a win-win-win-win-win, so we'll have to wait and see. Next up is a trilogy. I am, as you all know, on the hunt for The Next Lucky Harbour by Jill Shalvis. I really want another series I can get stuck into, a good romance set in a little town or somewhere that I can just sort of switch off to. I've heard good things of this one, and it is Nora Roberts' The Inn at Boonesborough trilogy. So there is The Next Always, The Last Boyfriend, and The Perfect Hope. So I'm really hoping that these could be the one. So we shall see. It's set in a little inn. They look great. I've read Nora Roberts' other books, her more sort of crime fiction, general sort of fiction books, and I really like her writing style. So we shall see, but fingers crossed. Next up is a couple of YA books and middle grade books, or someone mentioned on my video recently about middle grade. I class middle grade because obviously I'm not American, but I tend to use that term because I hear it so much on BookTube. But over in England, I think middle grade is sort of 11 to 14 years old. So correct me if I'm wrong, all of you library lovers or librarians, because I know there's a few that watch. But I think it's sort of 11 to 14-year-old. So that sort of stage before young adult. So I think this one fits into that category, and it's called Counting by Sevens by Holly Goldberg Sloan. And I keep seeing this at my library and I keep thinking, oh, it looks interesting, and then I heard it reviewed recently and I thought, yes, I definitely got to give this one a... So this is the story of a young girl who is 11, I believe, no, 12, and she's a genius. She's called Willow, and she's obsessed with nature and diagnosing medical conditions, and finds comfort to count by sevens. As Willow pieces her life back together after the unexpected death of her parents, she discovers the connection that binds us all as families. And I've heard this is really moving and really good, so I can't wait to read it, and I'm sure I could probably read it in one sitting, so I will probably get round to this one really soon. Next up is a book a lot of you have probably seen already on people's channel. It's been out for quite a while, and that's Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page. I think the third book is already out in this, but I ummed and ahed, and I've decided I'm going to give it a go. It's the story of the Wizard of Oz, however, with a twist. A new girl, I believe, gets sent to Oz, where Dorothy already is, and Dorothy in this case isn't as good as she appeared to be in the original story, and so this girl needs to do lots of different challenges, but ultimately needs to kill Dorothy, I think. It sounds intriguing, and I can't wait to see what I think. Next is a book by Malorie Blackman, who I absolutely adore, and that's Chasing the Stars. Malorie Blackman wrote the Noughts and Crosses series, which I really enjoyed, and this one sounds like it's going to be a really good one. It's set in space. It's about a girl called Olivia and her twin brother. They're heading back to Earth, or I think it's Earth, after everyone on their ship has died, and they run into another ship which has a young boy on, and Olivia and this boy form a connection, and you know how it goes. But it's set in space. I love Malorie's writing, so I'm really looking forward to seeing where she takes this genre. Again, on my hunt for my next best short story collection, I've picked up I Am an Executioner by Rajesh Parameshwaran. This is love stories, and it says inside, a Bengal tiger wakes up one morning realising he is ravenously in love. A pompous railway supervisor in a small Indian village bites off more than he can chew. With a peculiar new clerk arrives on his doorstep. In another place and in another time, a secret agent who spends her days watching the front door of an unknown quarry discovers something she isn't meant to. An immigrant housewife in an American suburb geeing up for Thanksgiving makes a wish she may come to regret, and a small famous country's only executioner claims his conscience is as clean as his heavy washed stones. This just sounds really interesting. I've heard about it a couple of times now. I liked the front cover, so hopefully a good short story collection for me. Next is a book that I'm really excited to try, and it's called The Moth, and it's 50 Extraordinary True Stories. It's introduced by Neil Gaiman, and it's written by a number of different people. It's different people's real life short stories. So I think from what I can gather that The Moth is a true story event in America where you can go along and you can tell your story, and if you're considered one of the best, then the people that run it help you make it better, and they've collected 50 of their best stories in here. So from what I can see inside, you get the story, and then at the end you get the a picture of the person whose story it is and a little bit of information about them. So I'm looking forward to trying this one out. Next is a vintage classic, and that is Highland by Perkins Gilman, and I've always wanted to try this, and Charlotte from Ramblings of an Elfire picked it up recently on a trip that we went to all together to Cambridge, and I thought yep, I definitely want to get that, so I got it out from the library. It's set in a time where 3 men discover a community of women living in isolation, and it's just an exploration of that type of society, and I'm looking forward to trying it out and seeing what I think. Just a few more. Firstly is a YA book by Sarah Moosey called Here Be Dragons, which that didn't draw me in itself, the blurb just sounds really good. It's a book that's set in Snowdon. It's about a girl, she's looking for love. She's gone on some sort of Snowdon trip, I believe, and then all of a sudden she sees this boy who lures her into a particular area, and I'm probably guessing that dragons are involved. It says here that it's the first book in the Snowdonia Chronicles, so this is the first book in a series. I've heard really good things about it, so I want to try it for myself and see what I think. Next is a book I've been meaning to read for a long time, and that is Stolen Songbird by Danielle Jensen. I believe this is about trolls. It's a young adult fantasy. A girl is sold or kidnapped by trolls, and she needs to try and escape, and there's bound to be some romance and some other things in there, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what I think of this. This is one that's getting sort of mixed opinions, so I always like to try it out for myself. And then the final book, which I will be reading soon with the lovely Jackie Kate, is The Hunter's Kind by Rebecca Levine. This is book 2 in the Hollow God series. The first book was Smiler's Fair, which I read with Jackie and we both really enjoyed, so this is the next book in the series, which we will be picking up and reading together soon. So I can't tell you much about this one, but it is an adult fantasy novel. So that's all the books that I've currently got checked out from the library. Have you read any of these? Where should I start? And I look forward to chatting to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.